While you've been sleeping, two superpowers have been quietly planning the greatest land grab in human history. But this time, it's not about territory on Earth. It's about claiming the moon. Right now, as you watch this video, China and the United States are in a desperate race to establish the first permanent base on the lunar surface. The winner doesn't just get bragging rights. They get access to resources worth potentially trillions of dollars. Military advantages that could shift global power forever, and control over humanity's gateway to the rest of the solar system. And here's the shocking part. One of them is already winning. Today, we're diving deep into the new space race that mainstream media barely covers. A competition that makes the Cold War space race look like a friendly game of chess. On one side, we have NASA's Artemis program, backed by the world's largest economy and decades of lunar experience. On the other, China's ambitious lunar program, moving at a speed that has space experts around the world both impressed and concerned. But this isn't just about planting flags anymore. This is about water ice that could fuel missions to Mars, rare minerals that could revolutionize technology on Earth, and establishing the rules for how humanity expands into the cosmos. The stakes have never been higher, so buckle up, because by the end of this video, you'll understand why the next 5 years will determine not just who controls the moon, but potentially who leads humanity into the space age. Let's start with what's really driving this new race. Forget everything you learned about the moon being a dead, useless rock. Recent discoveries have completely changed the game. In 2009, NASA's LCROSS mission confirmed what scientists had suspected. There's water ice at the moon's poles. We're not talking about a few drops. We're talking about potentially billions of tons. Why does this matter? Water isn't just for drinking. Split it into hydrogen and oxygen, and you've got rocket fuel. Suddenly, the moon becomes a gas station for the solar system. Missions to Mars or asteroids could refuel there instead of hauling all their fuel from Earth, cutting costs by up to 90%. But water is just the beginning. The moon is rich in helium-3, a rare isotope that could revolutionize clean energy. One cargo load of helium-3 could theoretically power the entire United States for a year. China has specifically mentioned helium-3 as a target resource, while NASA has been more quiet about their intentions. Then, there are rare earth elements, crucial for electronics, renewable energy, and defense technologies. The moon's lack of atmosphere means these resources sit right on the surface, no deep mining required. Whoever controls these deposits controls the future of technology. But here's where it gets really interesting. The moon's low gravity and lack of atmosphere make it the perfect launch pad for deep space missions. A permanent base there would give its owner a massive advantage in exploring and exploiting the rest of the solar system. China's lunar ambitions seem to come out of nowhere, but they've been methodically planning this for decades. Let's trace their journey. It started in 2007 with Chang'e 1, a simple orbiter. The West barely noticed. Then came Chang'e 3 in 2013, making China only the third nation to soft land on the moon. Still, many dismissed it as playing catch-up. But China wasn't playing catch-up. They were playing a different game entirely. While NASA was focused on Mars and commercial partnerships, China quietly built capability after capability. Chang'e 4 achieved the first ever soft landing on the moon's far side in 2019. Think about that. They went where even NASA hasn't gone. Then came the game changer, Chang'e 5 in 2020, which brought back lunar samples, something only the US and Soviet Union had done before. But China did it with 21st century technology, using automated systems that NASA is only now developing for Artemis. Here's China's master plan, and it's brilliantly simple. Phase 1, complete. Orbital missions and technology demonstration. Phase 2, ongoing. Sample returns and site surveys. Phase 3, 2028 to 2030. Crewed lunar landing. Phase 4, 2030s. International Lunar Research Station. That last part is crucial. China isn't going alone. They've already signed agreements with Russia, Pakistan, and several other nations. They're building a coalition. The International Lunar Research Station, ILRS, isn't just a base. It's designed to be a permanent, expanding presence. Initial modules will be robotic, constructed by machines before humans even arrive. By the time Chinese astronauts land, they'll have a ready-made base waiting for them. And here's the kicker. China's timeline hasn't slipped once. Every mission has launched on schedule. Compare that to, well, we'll get to NASA in a moment. NASA's Artemis program is incredibly ambitious, perhaps too ambitious. The plan is to not just return to the moon, but to establish a sustainable presence. On paper, it's everything you'd want in a lunar program. Artemis includes the Space Launch System, SLS, the most powerful rocket ever built, Orion spacecraft, designed for deep space missions, Lunar Gateway, a space station orbiting the moon, Human Landing System, SpaceX's modified Starship, lunar terrain vehicles and habitation modules. The problem? Almost everything is behind schedule and over budget. The SLS was supposed to launch in 2016. It finally flew in 2022. Each launch costs an estimated $4.1 billion. Yes, billion with a B. For comparison, SpaceX's Falcon Heavy, which has similar capabilities for lunar missions, costs about $150 million per launch. The Lunar Gateway, while innovative, adds complexity and cost. Critics argue it's unnecessary for lunar landings and exists mainly to give international partners something to contribute to. It's become a political project as much as a technical one. Here's NASA's current timeline. Artemis, Mars, complete. Uncrewed test flight. Artemis 2, 2025. Crewed lunar flyby. Notice the question marks? NASA's own Inspector General reports that these dates are unrealistic. Artemis 3, the crucial first landing, has already slipped from 2024 to 2025 to no earlier than 2026. Meanwhile, the cost is staggering. The program will consume $93 billion by 2025, with each mission costing more than the entire Chinese lunar program to date. Here's where the competition gets really interesting. Both programs are taking radically different approaches, and each has advantages. China's approach. Incremental development. Each mission builds on the last. Proven technology. They're using updated versions of reliable systems. Automation focus, heavy emphasis on robotic construction, single architecture. Everything designed to work together. State funding. No budget battles or political interference. NASA's approach. Revolutionary leaps, trying to advance multiple technologies at once, commercial partnerships, leveraging SpaceX, Blue Origin, and others, human-centered, designed for maximum crew capability, distributed architecture, multiple systems from different contractors, political vulnerability. Budget depends on changing administrations. The perfect example is their lunar landers. NASA is betting on SpaceX's Starship, a revolutionary vehicle that could carry 100 tons to the lunar surface. If it works, it's a game changer. But Starship requires orbital refueling, a technology that doesn't exist yet. China is developing a more conventional lander, smaller, simpler, but based on proven technology. It can't carry as much, but it will definitely work. This philosophical difference extends everywhere. NASA is trying to build the perfect lunar program. China is trying to build a good enough program that actually flies. This isn't just about two countries. The moon race is reshaping global alliances. Countries are being forced to choose sides. Join NASA's Artemis Accords, which establish rules for lunar activity based on Western values. Or partner with China's ILRS, which promises equal partnership regardless of a nation's size or wealth. So far, 30-plus nations have signed the Artemis Accords, including major players like Japan, the UK, and India. But China's coalition is growing too, especially among developing nations who feel excluded from Western space programs. Here's the scary part. There's no agreed-upon way to claim lunar territory. The Outer Space Treaty prohibits national appropriation, but it's vague about commercial activities. Both sides are interpreting it differently. NASA says commercial mining is allowed under the treaty. China argues it requires new international agreements. Meanwhile, both are racing to establish facts on the ground, or rather, facts on the moon. The first nation to establish a permanent base will have a massive advantage in shaping lunar law. They'll control the best landing sites, the richest resource deposits, and most importantly, they'll set precedents that could last centuries. We need to talk about the elephant in the room, military implications. While both nations insist their programs are peaceful, the moon offers undeniable strategic advantages. High ground for Earth observation, protected location for sensitive equipment, launching point for space-based weapons, if treaties fail, control over cislunar space. China's program is run by the People's Liberation Army. NASA is civilian, but works closely with the Space Force. Neither side trusts the other. Who's really winning? Let's cut through the propaganda and look at facts. Who's actually winning this race? China's advantages. Consistent funding and political support. Faster development cycle, clear achievable timeline, growing international coalition, proven track record of meeting deadlines. NASA's advantages. Superior technology, when it works. Decades of experience, strong commercial sector, larger budget, though less efficient. More international partners. If the race ended today, you'd have to give the edge to China. They're moving faster, spending smarter, and most importantly, they're actually flying missions, while NASA is still developing hardware. Based on current trajectories, here's the likely scenario. 2027 to 2028. China lands their first crew on the moon. 2028 to 2029. NASA lands Artemis 3 crew. 2030. China begins ILRS construction. 2031 to 2032. NASA begins base construction 2035. Both nations have permanent lunar presence. But here's the twist. Being first might not matter as much as being best. If NASA's technologies work, their base will be far more capable. If SpaceX's Starship delivers on its promise, it could land more cargo in one mission than China could in 10. The real winner might be determined not by who lands first, but by who stays longest and builds fastest. But wait, we're missing huge parts of this story. This isn't really a two-horse race anymore. SpaceX is developing Starship with or without NASA. Elon Musk has his own lunar ambitions. If Starship works, SpaceX could establish their own lunar presence faster than either government program. India shocked the world with Chandrayaan-3's successful South Pole landing. They're planning crewed missions and have the advantage of extremely low costs. Russia despite economic challenges, has partnered with China and brings decades of experience. Private companies like Blue Origin, Intuitive Machines, and Astrobotic are developing lunar capabilities. The moon could see a gold rush of commercial activity. The most likely scenario isn't Chinese or American dominance. It's a messy, complicated lunar landscape with multiple bases, overlapping claims, and constant competition. Think Antarctica in space, but with higher stakes. This could lead to resource conflicts as companies race to claim the best deposits, legal battles over mining rights and territorial claims, technology theft and espionage, proxy competitions between allied nations, environmental concerns about lunar contamination. The moon might not be big enough for everyone's ambitions. So, what does all this mean for you watching this video? Why should you care about flags and footprints on a rock 240,000 miles away? Because this race will determine humanity's future in space. The rules established on the moon will govern how we explore Mars, mine asteroids, and eventually spread throughout the solar system. The winner of this race doesn't just get the moon. They get to write the rulebook for the space age. If China wins, expect a state-led model of space development with government control over resources and limited commercial activity. If NASA wins, expect a more chaotic but innovative commercial free-for-all. But here's the real tragedy. This competition is preventing collaboration. Imagine what humanity could achieve if China and NASA worked together, combining China's efficiency with America's innovation. We could have lunar cities within a decade. Instead, we're repeating Earth's mistakes on the moon. The saddest part? The moon doesn't care about our borders or our politics. It's been waiting 4.5 billion years. It can wait a little longer for humanity to grow up. The race is on. The next 5 years will be crucial. Pay attention, because whether you realize it or not, the outcome affects your future and your children's future. Will humanity's expansion into space be marked by cooperation or competition, unity or division? The answer is being written right now, one mission at a time, on the dusty surface of our nearest neighbor.